Hi, welcome to Parents Using Human Design podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Courtney, and
Hey, I'm Bryn Brown.
and we're so excited to explore human design with parenting. So think of this as this isn't a human design podcast. This is not a parenting podcast, right? This is how to show up as your best self as a parent through the lens of human design. I'm going to let you take that over a little bit, Brenda, because you're the human design expert. We're going to introduce who we are, why we started this, a little bit about ourselves, all the things. So I kind of want Bryn to talk about, are you good with that? Talking
Yeah,
about,
happy to. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, first of all, Courtney and I are just a couple of parents using human design to try to better understand ourselves and understand our children so that we can show up as the best parents that we can be as guides for our children. And so that we can also facilitate the opportunity for our children to be the fullest expression of their innate selves. And that's a big task. And I think that's something every parent wants for their child. And having this energetic tool of human design to use to support us on that journey, I just think it makes it, I don't know if there's anything that makes it easier in
Yeah.
parenting, but it certainly is helpful for sure.
Yeah. When I kind of thought about this idea of, I was on another podcast actually, and we were talking about human design, and I was like, I had this light bulb moment of like human design is kind of a guidebook for parenting our kiddos, and how amazing. Like we all want this guidebook, this user manual, if you will, for our kids when they're born, right? If you think back to when you were first a mom or a dad and you were like, I have no idea what the hell to do with this. What do I do? I need a guidebook. I need a user manual. And I feel like this is kind of that in a way.
Yeah, I totally agree. In human design philosophy, there is definitely conversation and narrative around this being a tool for children, for the future, for the evolution of humanity, which is a really big concept to think about, but really just kind of bringing it back into your home. It's such a valuable tool for yourself, understanding your co-parent if you have one, or co-parents if you have more than one, understanding the way that your child behaves, and how, if you have multiple children, how they can be so different from you and different from each other. So it does give you certain anchor points, I would say. And we'll get into these. I think we have this vision, Courtney and I, have, really being able to break down some of these key components of human design and talk about it in a way that you can learn the system, but not in a way that's taking on the whole system. Like you said, Courtney, it's like more about pulling the pieces that are relevant for you and your family and then actually applying them. So we're going to do our best.
Yeah, and I'm excited because this is going to be like, yes, you're going to learn the bits and pieces of human design to help you understand not only yourself and your kids, but also a living, breathing thing where we share experiences in our real life and how we can apply human design to that and how we can look through the lens of human design to make our life a little bit easier, quote unquote, right? Of
Yeah.
like instead of, I'm thinking about the tantruming toddler because they aren't using their voice, they're grunting, right? Or whatever the case may be. So, I don't know why that just came up for me, but it did. So here we go. But
I think we were just talking about those sweet moments with the generator sounds
yeah.
that come out. It's so great. Yeah, I think the last thing that Courtney, you and I, in our vision for this, the last thing that we want is this to be stuffy and curriculum filled and heavy in that way. It really is about applying this to real life and allowing it to flow. And you have reiterated a few times in our conversations about just really taking what feels good and leaving the rest. And then this is truly about embodiment. So if we just transition for a moment into our respective experience and expertises, then maybe it will be a little bit more clear of like what we're bringing into these conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Feel
So I'm Bryn Brown. I'm a business coach. I really love business strategy, and I've been working for decades growing other people's small businesses and even some large businesses. I have been coaching for a little more than 8 years now in business specific. So for personal brands, for creatives, for healers, for other coaches and consultants. And I brought in a handful of years ago, I brought in human design for myself, for my own understanding of how I'm designed to show up in my business, and then started quickly started applying that to my clients' businesses as well. And it was I have been a personal development and spiritual junkie since I remember being around like 12 or 13 when I started really getting into, all these different modalities, healing modalities, and playing with energy and manifestation concepts. So I've been playing with that for a long time. I truly believe that human design is the best and fastest shortcut to apply to business in terms of personal development, and then embodying sort of this energy that's going to help get you on the path to success. So in human design, I'm a 5/1 mental projector. I have the left angle cross of defiance. So if you're coming to this and you already know about human design, those things might mean something to you. And if they don't, they will. Stick with us. So really my purpose here is to buck status quo, to really guide people on their journey of self-expression, authentic self-expression. And I love the business side so much that it's like I really want to help people raise the collective vibration on the planet by fully expressing themselves through their business and being rewarded richly for that. So that's my, I have corporate experience, a couple decades under my belt of sales and marketing, and so I bring all that knowledge in and combine it with this energy. As a parent, I feel new to parenting because I have a 5.5-year-old at this point and an almost 2-year-old. So we're still in the early stages. I'm in the thick of it. I feel like still there's so many stages that I haven't seen yet. So it's interesting. And at the same time, I'm still in this phase where my kids are young enough that it's like I'm seeing the pure expression. They're both generators. So I'm just seeing the generatorness of them. So I'm a projector. My husband's a manifester. And then my two babies are pure generators. So sacral generators. So it's interesting to see all the different energy, and we'll talk way more about it, but I'm gonna lob it off to you. This is kind of where I'm coming from, so
Yeah,
my experience.
I love that. And when you said like you're speaking to the ages of your kiddos, and how amazing to have a tool like this to be able to filter through life and parenting with them through this lens, right? Of being able to really understand how they were brought into this world and what their design is, right? I think that's so cool. My kids are a little bit older. I have a 12 and a 10-year-old. So I often think of how amazing it would have been to have this when they were younger, right? Because like you spoke to the innocence, the like pure nature of them at younger ages, right? My 12 and 10-year-old have been conditioned for the last 12 to 10 years. And it's interesting to kind of play with that and see how to differentiate between human design, their true authentic selves, and their like conditioning, right? And so that brings me to a little bit about me. And so I'm Courtney. I am a holistic wellness and life coach who has a background in nursing. I've been a nurse for 16 years, worked mostly in pediatrics. Kids are my passion. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but did that for 16 years. And then I found this world of coaching. And let me back up a little bit. So I actually found the world of natural health and wellness first, right? With my own medical issues. I'm not going to get into that today. I'm sure it'll come up at some point, but I had some of my own chronic health things that it really brought a lot to the surface as far as what I needed to do for my physical body. So I dove into the natural health world. And through that, I found the connection of mind, body, spirit, and how much our emotions impact our physical well-being and our soul and all the things. And so this is a funny story. I have to share it. I think it's funny. Maybe you won't, but I went to therapy because I was feeling like there was a wall I was trying to like get through and I couldn't do it on my own. So I went to therapy. First time I ever met my therapist. She actually has an office in her house. And I walked in. It's in the middle of the desert, Bryn, like literally in the middle of the desert, this tranquil, like think forest because you're in the mountains, right? But like think desert with like nobody else really around, like literally in the mountains of the desert. And I walk into her office and it's filled with crystals and it has this giant wall overlooking the beautiful desert and books everywhere and I'm just plants and all these things and I knew I belonged there, right? I just had this inner knowing. And in our session, she mentioned human design and I was like, I've never heard of this. Like, what is this? Tell me more. And she opened my chart and she started telling me about myself and my jaw dropped. I was just like, how do you know so much about me? Have you been a literal fly on the wall in my house for the last 38 years? Because what the heck? And so from that point on, I felt it really resonated, obviously, right? So we talk about this a lot too, Bryn and I, of like it being an experiment. And that's kind of known in the human design world of like human design is your own experiment, right? There's no right, wrong, truth, blah, blah, blah. It's take what resonates, leave what doesn't. So anyway, that was a little side tangent. But me finding that mind, body, soul connection really provoked me to find this coaching world, right? I don't know if you've ever heard of nurse coaching, Bryn, but that's technically what I'm certified as. I'm a board certified nurse coach, and my specialty is coaching women, mostly moms, around emotional mastery and self-trust. And that ties in your entire well-being, right? Mind, body, spirit. So, where was I going with that?
Doesn't matter
It doesn't
wherever
matter.
you land.
Literally, wherever I land. So
Same
yeah, that's
professional experience. And now you're doing coaching.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and human design. I wanted to say that, like how I kind of tie human design into I'm not an expert like Bryn is in human design. That's why I like contacted her because I wanted to do this with somebody who knows human design really well. Um, I do bring it into my sessions because I use it. I think it's a wonderful tool to be able to differentiate between our conditioning, right, and our true authentic like being, who we were designed to be. And you mentioned raising the vibration of the earth. Like I talk about that all the time of when we can show up as that true authentic self, it literally raises the frequency of the planet.
Yes.
And it gives me goosebumps as I say it. It's impacting your kids, it's impacting your spouse, it's impacting literally everybody around you. It's impacting the entire planet. So that's what I'm so passionate about. And that's why I'm so excited to have this conversation about human design and parenting using it, right? I think it's also really important to like reiterate, Bryn, that we are talking about being a parent using human design, right? We are not experts in parenting necessarily. We have kids and we help people who have kids and all that. But this is not a parenting podcast and it's not like a nitty gritty, let's get down to all of the details of human design type podcast. So yeah,
Yeah,
super.
human design is so incredibly nuanced and complicated that that's just too much to tackle. There are places you can go to learn that. And I think really what we're talking about is application. And our vision is to at least start out this first season with some of the big archetypes, the big generalizations. So if you're brand new to human design, and maybe you found it through Courtney's work or my work, and human design is this sort of esoteric, energetic meets science system. It is fairly new. It was brought to us by a man called Ra Uru, who in the late 1980s, and he sort of transmitted this information, and it is a synthesis of systems like astrology and the Chinese I Ching and the Kabbalah tree of life and the chakra system. So you'll see that, but there's an element of genetics in here, and physics as well. So and often if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm looking away at my screen because I'm looking at the chart because I'm feeling the energy of it. I'm actually looking at the chart of our podcast. So we ran this chart, and so I'm just feeling into that energy. But so what it does is when you put in your birth information like you would an astrology chart, you get this chart called a body graph. If you don't have a body graph, you can grab one in a variety of places. They're absolutely free to run. You can go to my website if you don't mind me plugging that, Courtney. It's brynbrown.com/free chart. You can get your chart there. You can also go to places like Genetic Matrix or myhumandesign.com, and you can get a free chart there as well. And you'll get what looks kind of crazy with red and black or different colors on there, different numbers on there. It's called a body graph. And that's essentially a map of your energetic mechanics. So what we'll do is start to break down some of the key components and then how that applies to yourself as a parent, how it applies to your children, or some of the themes that we might just see coming up. And I think we have also a vision of, having parents sending in questions and real life examples so we can kind of see how this energy moves in real life, how this body graph, how your aura bumps into other people's auras and works with the universe, and give you sort of that holistic picture rather than, like you said, Courtney, like the nitty gritty, going in and learning everything about the system because it's so overwhelming. And you often refer to me as an expert in human design. And I feel like I laugh, you're laughing too, because we talked about this. I have the one line in my profile, I'm a 5-1. So I have this element of, I know so much, but I also know how much there is more to know. And so I don't cringe, but it makes me a little uncomfortable when you say, oh, you're a human design expert, because I know there are people out there who are so incredibly knowledgeable in human design. It's sort of like, this really is just our conversations around how we're using it and how we're experiencing it and how we're living it and interpreting it. And good, bad, and ugly, I think, as it goes. And you know what? I think I want to point out that is so funny to me. Courtney and I don't actually know each other that well. We really don't know each other at all. We both followed our strategy and authority, which is sort of the starting point in human design, and came together. She was in one of my classes for human design for business, and she followed her strategy of just responding and coming to me with this idea about doing something around parenting. And in our conversation, me following, my strategy of receiving the invitation, we sort of came up with this idea of a master class wouldn't be enough. We weren't really sure, but we just needed this ongoing conversation, and it felt like a podcast. So here we are. Let's see what happens. Let's have fun.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it's going to be really entertaining to learn about each other as we go.
I think so too. I think that's the best part of this, right? Is that it's just an idea that came to me and then I brought it to you. Like, I get goosebumps every time we talk about it. Every time we have a conversation about this, I get goosebumps. And goosebumps, you guys, is like one of my signposts of like excitement, and this is the right way to go. And we could talk about intuition in this too, right, Bryn? Of like how, because of the conditioning versus and we'll probably have a whole episode on intuition, I think. I'm gonna leave it there.
Yeah. Your goosebumps are your sign. I know that about you already. And that you didn't say it earlier. Courtney's a 1-3 emotional manifesting generator.
Yeah.
And I'm a 5-1 mental projector. So again, if you're new to human design, that might not mean a whole lot, but you will get familiar with these terms. And for those of you who are informed already and know what that means, then you kind of have a sense of maybe the way that we might approach our perspectives in our households and our roles in the household. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. Okay. What do you think?
I think we're good.
Is that good for an intro?
I think so.
Well, if this is posted and you want more, stay for the next episode or send us a message. And I don't know where you're going to send it yet.
No, well, maybe we'll put like our contact information in the show notes. We're feeling into all of this, guys. We're figuring it out as we go. Like there's here we go.
Yeah. And then we'll look back and laugh in 10 episodes at.
Yeah. And then say
how scattered this is.
Maybe we should re-record that.
Or leave it, because what is life other than just figuring it out on the fly, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And talk about like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, us women are a lot of us have been so conditioned that everything has to be perfect, right?
This is true. And also, I think it's really important to say that this isn't about using human design to prevent your children from being conditioned. That is really important to understand. One, it's impossible. It's impossible. There's too many people in their lives. There are too many experiences, things that you can't control. That's not what this is about. This is about nurturing their innate sense of self, nurturing the potential, teaching your children to use their authority to be in their body and to follow the way that they are designed, so that they have this skill set as they grow and are grown, right? Rather than
And to
trying to
add,
protect them from everything.
yes, exactly. Because we can't, right? Like we are in the world of humanness, and in
Yeah.
human, we make mistakes, we get conditioned and all of those things, and we can't prevent that at all. And I think it's important to note that like that's part of each person's journey, right? Like I've been through some shit, you've been through some shit, and that's part of who we are, how we show up on the planet and in the world, right? Um, and that what came up for me when you were talking about their innate selves and their innate knowing, right? And like really fostering the self-trust within themselves so that when they're 40, I'm 40 years old, I turned 40 last year, of like when they're 40 years old, they don't have to learn how to trust themselves again, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having this tool in your 20s or your Saturn
Right.
return?
Or even just from the get-go,
Yeah.
like having the ability
Yeah.
to know what your decisions are and have somebody, parents, caregivers, whatever, honor that.
Hmm.
And that's something else with parenting is a hard line, right? Of honoring what they know to be true for themselves and what their next step is, but also bringing into like what's the greater good for everybody, what's the greater good for that person.
Hmm.
That's something that happened recently with us. My 12-year-old daughter is a soccer player, and she just tried out for a new club, and she got offered two positions, so two different teams. And one is this like traveling team, right? Like going to places like Texas and Colorado from Phoenix is where we're at. Or this other team that is a combo of a couple different age groups. She's a pretty good player, so she plays with older girls, but they don't travel as much, right? And like my husband and I know that like me and him are not ready for this travel aspect, right? It's going to cause a lot of chaos, it's going to cause a lot of tension, da 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 da. But that's the one that she was feeling really called to and really drawn to, and we had to make a decision of like, let's take one step forward instead of like 10 steps forward, knowing her personality, knowing that she took a season off from playing because she got burned out, like going from not playing for a season to jumping into travel just seemed like a thing. So anyway, all that to say, allowing your kid, honoring your kid, trusting their innate knowing while also holding the boundaries
Yeah.
that we have to hold for them, right? Knowing that
Yeah.
their brain is fully developed and all the things.
Yeah. It's so hard making
Yeah.
decisions for children and then teaching them along the way. And it's the beauty of having this tool is like, okay, I know, I see how you got to that decision and I understand why that feels right for you. And here are the other things we have to consider and the direction we might have to go that it's not aligned with that, but reinforcing that decision making process and allowing them to understand that when they're adults or when they're parents, they can make these decisions for themselves in that manner.
Yeah.
um yeah, it's
Yeah, even
tough.
just having that conversation of awareness for them. Like I think back to my childhood and it wasn't like that. Like there was no conversation about, I understand why you think that, or I understand why you want that, or whatever. It was just like, no, because I said so, let's move on.
Exactly. Yeah, you're the
And
child, I'm the parent.
yeah, and not that there's anything innately wrong with that, right? That's what that generation knew. That's how they were taught, blah, blah, blah. But
Of course.
now we're in this world of more awareness, more knowledge around how we can do things a little bit better and why not do that, right?
Hmm.
Let's let our kids, and with me, this is one of my big missions, right? Is like making sure or educating or helping parents, moms learn how to not only trust themselves, but like in that process, trust their kids so that they can like actually see them, hear them, like love them from that deeper place, right?
Yeah.
That deeper, because we all deserve to be heard, loved, seen, valued,
Yeah.
understood, like all of those things. So, um, so good, Bryn. So good.
So much more to come.
So much more. I'm so excited.
Me too.
All right,
Okay, let's
great.
wrap it here for now and we'll get into the next episode. I don't know when we get into it. Maybe
Yeah,
soon.
perfect.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.